morning. Good morning. Last show of the year. Welcome to Detroit in Black and White. I'm Adolph Mongo. We're here at McShane's on Michigan and Trumbull. Thank you, Bob Roberts, for letting us do this show the last 6-7 months. Where to start at? Good morning, Allan.
Good morning. Good
Deadline
morning.
Detroit.
Good morning.
Vanessa Moss, attorney Vanessa Moss, politician Vanessa Moss. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Good morning, everyone. Good morning to all our viewers of Detroit in Black and White. If you're watching this morning, we want you to like, subscribe, and share. You can find us on all platforms.
Okay.
Facebook, X, whatever.
Okay,
We have our
somebody.
page.
I got Jim here. And I'm gonna let you settle this. Somebody said Jim been called two different names. How you pronounce your last name? Because they said I'm pronouncing it wrong.
It's Nardone, but
Okay, that's what I
Nardone.
thought. Yeah,
That's okay.
that's Jim.
is that Italian?
It
Or?
is. Yes.
That's pretty
I
Italian.
think I had it right, but that's what folks do. Former police chief from Trenton. Thanks for joining us. And since you joining us, I'll start with you. What's your outrage of the week?
Outrage. I hope everybody had a good Christmas. And those that are watching and listening, please communicate with us. Put something online. Let us know you're out there because we want to talk to you. We want your feedback. Thinking a lot about January something. The 6th, is that when the alleged insurrection?
You mean alleged?
Alleged
It was.
insurrection.
Go ahead.
What's the alleged part?
So anyway,
He disagrees that it was an
Who's
insurrection.
who's really responsible is the former president, Donald Trump. He's the one that's the catalyst for the January 6th hillbilly rage party.
Oh,
But it was a hillbilly rage party at the Capitol, right? Nobody took guns. There weren't a whole bunch of people marching with guns. And I'm not going to. The real problem with January 6th that sticks with me, that's been with me since the beginning, is the failure of law enforcement. And as a former police officer, as a former police executive, I struggle with it. If you call for help in your police department, people come from all over. You'll see people, when I was in Trenton, you'd have people from E-Court show up if you call for help. E-Court doesn't order Trenton. E-Court is nowhere near Trenton. But if you call for help, people come. So why did January 6th happen? Because of failure of law enforcement. And that's something that bothers me. And I'll take it. Something happened strategically that caused January 6th. Because if you go up against a bunch of police officers with guns and tear gas and AR-15s and you win, why are you walking around the Capitol? Why are you getting
But you know, Jim, but you know and I know that if that was Black Lives Matter protesters that stormed the Capitol, that the police, the Capitol Police, the DC Police, they got so many police agencies in DC that they would have responded, and they wouldn't not be kind to those protesters, because they was kind, especially when they was chasing them around and pulling them out of doors and kicking them and stomping them. Listen, they were trying to overthrow the government.
And
so
they were,
let
and they
me
were
ask you
also.
this: Are you saying that because of the makeup of the people that stormed the Capitol on January 6th, because of the color of their skin, that they were given the benefit of the doubt?
Yeah.
Jim, what do you think?
I think there's some truth to that. I do. If you go to New York or if you go to a big city, there's police officers everywhere. There's police officers on the subway. You could have look at 911 for an example. All the different police agencies that lost members, right? When there's a problem, there was probably 3 times as many police officers that showed up, that could have showed up, that showed up at the Capitol that day. Why didn't they call these agencies? Why didn't they fight back?
Because your president at the time, Donald James, John or whatever his name,
John.
yes, he was the one. He loved chaos. It was chaotic, and all those Republican representatives and senators that was running for their life, and all of a sudden, oh, they got a different narrative. You know, that's something we can talk about
I-
forever.
I agree. I mean, I think there was some there was intelligence, there was going to be problems and stuff like that. They did not have everything set up properly, but Trump was blocking stuff. And, you know, when you talk about the group that was there were people chanting the N-words to some of the black officers. There were guys wearing Camp Auschwitz sweatshirts. I mean, it's outrageous, and it's outrageous that at the end Trump said, "You're great people. Go home now." He waited for whatever it was.
Listen,
3
they had a
hours.
civil war. The South, the rebels, whatever you want to call them, tried to invade D.C. several times, and guess what? They had that battle flag. First time in the history of this country that you had another country's flag flying in the Capitol.
Well, you know, to Jim's point, I just think it's interesting that the same person is now, I saw this morning, he's over 50% in the polls in Iowa. This guy is running for that seat again. And the fact that you have someone who would disrespect democracy, because that's what it was, disrespect democracy, it is outrageous to me to believe that this guy may occupy that seat again.
Yeah, not only disrespecting, I mean, democracy, with Constitution is part of our democracy. He doesn't even know what's in the Constitution, so he doesn't even know what he's disrespecting. But I mean, he is the biggest, I know he is the biggest threat to democracy that we've seen. It's not, it's not China.
Y'all give him too much credit.
Oh, if he gets
too
in,
much credit.
if he gets reelected, you have Joe Lieberman, who's heading the No Brand Party. I mean, Joe Lieberman's trying, bullshit.
Joe Lieberman, I thought he was dead.
Yeah, well, don't say that, but I mean, look, there's enough people. We have RFK Jr. I mean, there's enough people to take away
fascist.
votes.
Fashion.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are crazy. I mean, what we have is insanity. We have RFK Jr., who's just insane. We have Trump, who's insane.
That was that Harold.
We have in our home state, we have Christina Caramo, who's just crazy. And the mainstream Republicans who have money are not giving money to the party. The party's broke.
And then your girlfriend in Colorado.
Boebert.
Yeah, and then you got Margie Taylor Greene. Listen, let's move on, Vanessa.
You want me to do my
Yeah.
outrage, or we gonna talk about stupid?
No, you're outraged.
Okay,
Let's do
my
your
outrage is Coach Brianna O'Connor was fired from coaching basketball at Opelousas in Louisiana. She had a record of 18-4. And reportedly, she was told that this is not a fashion show. She dresses pretty, in my estimation, pretty fly. I like the way she dresses.
Provocative.
She's very curvy. Well, I don't know if it's provocative. If you have curves, I don't care what you put on. You can put on a sheet. You can see the curves. But I mean, that so that is a problem. But then you have another coach there in Louisiana. Her name is Kim Mulkey.
Yeah, she's from LSU.
She's the head coach. She dresses pretty flamboyantly as well. So you're talking about outrage. What is it?
30 years.
It's
30 years.
Okay, 30 years.
30
And
years. She's older.
She dresses the way she wants to dress, and that is fine with me. But here's the problem: you have another woman that's younger than her, that she has body, yaddy for days. And she gets fired from her job because this is not a fashion show. That is outrageous. I thought you should be judged upon what you do on your job. And if you have someone that's in the same arena that's dressing flamboyantly, what's the problem? That's outrageous.
Okay.
Why are we even looking at her? Why are we even looking at what she's wearing?
Well, you can't.
Because you can't help it.
Yeah, you can't help it. Have you seen the picture?
She look like she belong in a strip club.
No, she does not. No, she does not.
I'd have fired
She
her
has
too.
curves. No, you
Maybe
would
can
not
hold
have.
it up.
You got to
to the
go.
Yeah, hold it up to the camera.
You got to go. Okay, nobody see that. Listen, can't see it.
They
Like,
can see
Maybe
it.
you can
They can see it.
pull it up. Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah,
she
you can
dresses, this is just one outfit.
What's wrong with that?
Exactly. I'm saying the same thing.
Okay.
Look.
All right. Nobody
And of
can
course they
definitely
put the
not see
shot
it
from
now.
behind, right?
Who's taking those
That's the word
pictures?
about.
Right. Who's taking those
All
pictures?
right.
And then here's the other lady. Wait. Let me
Yeah.
show you the other
You
lady.
can here, Teresa. You want to help hold it up to the? We can hold it up here. Here, this is a good one.
If you took that picture a few years ago, they might charge you with a crime. Where that picture was taken from?
That's the other lady. She still has her job.
Okay, well, she
And,
can
and,
keep
the one-
her job.
and she should keep her job because she's a good coach.
But one of was high school, right? Yeah.
Look at, is
And,
this
and,
like,
and yeah, I think that's high
I'm
school.
not sure.
And
This is
and
high
the
school.
other one is LSU, where she has a contract and she's been winning. And if they fire her,
No,
gonna have
it's
to pay-
not. I don't know if it's high school.
Well,
I'm not sure.
no matter, she fired.
Unfortunately, and it's outrageous.
Okay, Allan.
I have two outrages. One is I'm going to play the Nikki Haley when she's asked about the Civil
Oh.
War.
What was the cause of the United States Civil War?
Well, don't come with an easy question or anything. I mean, I think the cause of the Civil War was basically how government was going to run, the freedoms and what people could and couldn't do.
Thank you. And in the year 2023, it's astonishing to me that you answer that question without mentioning the word slavery.
What do you want me to say about slavery?
No, you answered my question. Thank you.
Next question.
Well,
She
I think,
should know.
her thing is she doesn't want to offend the people in her state who are racist, who think that slavery was okay. It's like she's still getting shit for taking down the Confederate flag from the Capitol after there was a mass shooting of black people in a church in her state. And now she doesn't want to offend. It's like, it's one thing. Look, you know what? You can't give voice. You know, you may want to court those racist people to get their votes, but you can't give them a vote. They can't give them a voice in your party. You have to condemn them. And for her to do that is saying, I don't want to offend any people who think that slavery is okay.
Allan,
Did
if you
she,
go,
did she come back though and retract? Did she come back and somewhat?
yeah, because she
Because
messed
she
up.
knows right.
Well, you know what? But if you go to the capital of South Carolina and you look at the state capitol, you see Ben Tillman, whose statue is out front, where he led an insurrection of killing black elected officials in the 1870s. Then you go inside and you see pictures of all these folks that advocated seceding from the Union. South Carolina was the first state to say we gone, you know, and she sat there. Was she governor 8 years, 2 terms?
Well, you know why
So she understands the portion of slavery. But
Right.
my question
you know why
is,
she
why they
backtracked?
asked her about slavery?
Well, because I think they got the answer exactly what they.
Why they asked her about slavery? They got, they
She
ain't
was
got
like,
shit to
"Oh my
do.
God, you're throwing a curveball at me. You've asked me the Civil War." Oh my, she acted like, "Oh my God, what a tricky question." It's not a tricky question, but it is.
Why they asked her?
She,
Why?
the problem
Why
is she's
they asked
backtracking now
But
because she
Allan,
realizes she's talking. She's been so used to talking. to
Allan,
the
why
folks
did
in
they
South
ask her
Carolina.
about slavery?
Well, apparently
That's like
because
me
it's an
asking-
issue in Florida.
Let me
with Ron DeSantis.
ask Chris Christie if I was Julius Caesar a terrorist.
No.
No, that's what it has to do with the campaign.
Good. Well, you know what? Because in Florida, Ron DeSantis, they've talked about slavery being a good thing, and I think that's an issue there from some of the people coming from southern states. She's used to talking to people in South Carolina. She realizes, oh my gosh, there's a bigger. I need the votes of people from the West Coast to the East Coast, and suddenly she's like backtracking on it. But it's an issue there. I mean, we're talking about. Ron DeSantis is saying, slavery was good. It gave people trades and stuff like that. It's outrageous.
I think you're giving
It'd
her
be
too
like
much
Auschwitz saying, yeah, it's good enough.
Well, Before we continue, we'll come back. You said yet another one. Let's take a break, and we'll be back. This is Detroit in Black and White.
Thanks, Charles, for letting me use your gardening supplies. I'll make sure I put it back in the garage. Man, tending to that lawn is a lot of work.
Tell you the truth, Jim, I'm more concerned about keeping this house.
What's going on?
Well, Sarah lost her job 2 months ago, right?
Yeah.
Since we lost that income, the bills have been piling up, and we're so far behind. I don't want to lose the house because of back taxes. I don't know what to do.
I understand. The same thing happened to my sister and her husband when he lost his job. Do you know that the Wayne County Treasurer has plans and programs to help people stay in their homes?
No, I didn't. Tell me about it.
Yeah, go to www.treasure.waynecounty.com to see if you qualify.
Say that again.
www.treasure.waynecounty.com.
Got it.
Because I live in Detroit, I was able to get tuition-free college through the Detroit Promise. I feel very fortunate working with the Detroit Promise. They were able to afford me so many opportunities. I'm currently studying media production and journalism at University of Michigan Dearborn. I'm looking to take my talents further into the production industry, short films. I love working with people here, and this is where I want to be. And that's why I'm Detroit for life.
Well, welcome back. You had another question.
My second one was just on the Detroit Pistons, Tom Gores. I mean, he's owned the team, I don't know, 7-8 years. They started out, they were in the playoffs the first year he took over the team. They lost in 4 straight, but they looked good. You know, they looked like, yeah, they're headed up. Now they've lost 28 in a row. They were ahead by over 20 points, I think, against the Celtics the other night, and they lost in overtime. I mean, they were trying, but something's wrong.
But you want to know something? Detroit, the city of Detroit, has the distinction of we had the 0-16 Lions. We got the Pistons 28 in a row. You remember when
the
Tigers they had what? Yeah, they had about
lost 100 games or whatever.
100 and some games, you know. And then we had the Red Wings, who how many points did they have that year? But they did win the Stanley Cup a couple times during that period. Tigers went to the where they go? To the World Series.
Yeah.
Pistons
were kicking ass for a while. Now they've been horrible for years. But you know, it's interesting. Ethan Davidson, the son of Bill Davidson, the late Bill Davidson, the owner of the Pistons, he wrote a column in a publication which we put on Deadline Detroit. But he was talking about in 1980 where his father, they had a 21-game losing streak. So he was saying, I'm not so disappointed that my father's record has been broken. But he said back then in 1980, they were playing in the Silverdome. This was sort of the transition before they went to the Palace. And he said people were throwing beer on my father. He was 10 years, Ethan was 10 years old. He said people were throwing beer at him, calling him a bum, telling him to sell the game. And he just kind of took it. But the difference was he was at the games. Tom Gores seldom comes to the games.
What you want him to say?
Right. Yeah, let him show up to the game. Wear a raincoat. So you can.
Was that the Dick Vitale year? Was that in '79? Dick Vitale was the coach of the Pistons.
I don't know, but it was.
But you know what? Who cares?
Well,
Who cares?
The Lions.
We don't care about the Lions, Tigers, and Bears.
Well, they win some.
They won a division for the first time in 30 years.
Yeah.
But that's like a participation trophy.
Sandy Plotkin says, lay off Gores. He bought a kid a bike.
Okay.
That's what he thinks. He's like, hey, I'm giving to the community. Like, you're a billionaire. You should give to the community.
Lengel had an FBI talking about they didn't weaponize the FBI.
Oh, you on the show?
Oh, in Deadline.
What do you think they had the red files, Allan? Allan, they had the red files in the 50s, the 60s. The FBI gave people LSD without them knowing it. The FBI sent letters to people's families. Martin Luther King, kill yourself. The FBI been political since J. Edgar Hoover took it over, and they put Marcus Garvey in jail.
Let me ask you this. So it's been political, right?
Always.
So when the guy who formerly occupied the White House, when he says it, why do people get upset? Because clearly there's a ring of truth to it.
Yeah.
Are you upset?
But he's a criminal. You had the Justice Department to get criminals.
Look, the criminal can't talk about the other criminals.
You had the Justice Department to get criminals. But the FBI has, listen, they They infiltrated the Black Panthers. They did all kind of little dirty stuff. They was all part of the Klan during the South. They could care less who lynched who.
Right.
Listen, so yeah, the FBI. I don't cry for the FBI.
And as a graduate of the 233rd session of the FBI National Academy, I concur.
Okay.
Oh wow.
I look, the FBI is, they've done some stuff. Look, they went after Martin Luther King. They've gone after people before like that. Is it political?
Yeah.
Like it varies at times or whatever. But look, the FBI does. They need to be watched. That's why we need to have media watching them. We need to have watch groups, monitoring them. But they also do a lot of
the CIA.
They unearth public corruption. They have their part squads of violence, violent anti-violence squads. Law.
I was in a restaurant not too long ago, last year, and there was 3 FBI agents there. And man, just listening.
How'd you know they were FBI?
Because we was down at the federal building.
Oh, okay.
And to listen to them talk, I thought these were neo-Nazis, man.
Right.
I'm like, damn. It's like, this is who we got that's supposed to be protecting us.
I'll tell you what, I've covered through the Detroit News and the Washington Post, I've covered federal law enforcement. I've known a lot of FBI agents, ATF, DEA, and there are some who are very right wing, but there are some who are very moderates. And the ones I got to know the ones that I wasn't going to have to bust. But they try
to embarrass you when Kwame was going through all this stuff, and they was giving subpoenas to people that got paid out of the civic fund, and I was one of them.
Right.
And they come to me. I'm sitting in a restaurant. There come a guy, 2 people, man, and a woman. I said, I must have went to Oak Park with a white guy. I don't know who he was. And he talking about he showed his little badge. FBI. I said, yeah. You hung up on me. I said, hung up on you? You called me? My attorney. He was talking about, I got a subpoena. How's your friend doing? Kwame, talk about my friend. I said, my client, who I'm not drinking buddies. I said, how the FBI director doing? You over his house doing the holiday?
Where was this at? Where was it?
At the DoubleTree.
Oh, really?
Yes, and so the woman I was with him said, "No, he was just representing him. We need to go." He said, "You hung up on me." I say, "And you call me again, I'm gonna hang up on you." Listen. I said,
"Don't mess with Mongo."
No, they just think they can intimidate people,
right.
And they come down
there.
So who's watching Kim Worthy and Karen McDonald and all these people?
I don't know.
Who's overseeing their behavior when they weaponize their office?
But the bottom line, as we leave this old year, what was the top stories? I'll start with you, Vanessa. What was your top story of the new year?
One of them, I have
the old year, right?
But starting January the 1st, the state of California is going to make sure that those that are undocumented immigrants have health care. And of course, it's going to be at the expense of the state. But here's the problem. 1, you're undocumented, okay, which means you're not here legally, okay. 2, you have people, working class people who may be people who are self-employed, who cannot afford, even with the Affordable Health Care Act. Health insurance is extremely expensive. These are people that are paying taxes, going to work every day, doing what they need to do to help keep this economy going. You can't afford to have medical insurance for someone that's here illegally. And don't get me wrong, I have her, okay? But those people that are here illegally, right, and undocumented, they can't vote. But guess what? We're going to pay for your medical insurance because who's going to pay for it? It may be through the state of California, but the state of California is getting money for the federal government.
That's why If we had socialism, everybody would be happy. Nah,
So, that was my top story. So starting January 1st, all the undocumented will have health insurance.
Well, you got a Statue of
That's a
Liberty
story.
say, give me your free, your poor, and your criminals
I
and
don't
everything
have a
else.
problem with it. I'm saying that, listen, let's do it all across the board.
Yeah, they're not going to do it across the board.
No, but
Jim, your top story.
I think my top story is a fading Republican candidate was empowered and emboldened by the Democratic Party, Donald Trump. And I think that's the biggest story. He was fading away until the Democrats gave him legs.
Yeah, the Democrats gave Donald Trump legs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's running, man.
Yeah.
He should have been retired to Mar-a-Lago or Disneyland or wherever he was
So
going.
how you see the election next year?
I have no idea. I can tell you this. Donald Trump, when he left office, people were tired of him. And he was fading away. His son, they were starting to be out of the limelight, and we brought him back. We must need them.
Yeah, no, you know what? The Republican Party is lost without him. They have no leadership. They turn to him. They need a strong man, and he fits that bill. He faded away, but then they were like, who did they turn to? Who replaced him? Nobody. There was he left a huge gap, and nobody.
What are you calling him, Napoleon? So when the French got tired of Napoleon, they brought him back.
Right.
You know what? 2 or 3 times.
So you're saying there's similarities between the Democrats and Republicans who found nobody, so they went.
Well, the same thing. Look, the Democrats don't have anyone but Joe Biden. Who else is there who can beat Trump, and who else can Trump? You know, they've turned to Trump.
Well,
Is it true?
if you look at the polls, it's questionable as to whether or not he can beat if he will be able to prevail over that guy that occupies the space in your head.
Is it true?
Rent free.
So
But
we
is
don't know.
but is it true that the story of Frankenstein was modeled after Joe Biden? they created
What's the story of Frankenstein?
They found somebody's brain.
Isn't this country done?
Right, but you're talking about politics. Another top story of 2023 is McCarthy and how he wanted that position. They spent days voting over and over again, and in 9 months he was kicked out.
But when you
talking about a news cycle, that was all we heard for weeks. And
but
weeks
when you make pets out of rattlesnakes, sooner or later they gonna bite you. That's what they did. He fed all the rattlesnakes in the right. And they fed him. And they fed him. And that's what was happening. Here in Michigan, top story: people running for mayor of Detroit.
Is that 2023? That's not. We haven't even got there.
But they
talked about it yet.
Yeah, they have.
We've heard.
Yeah.
We've heard.
Yeah.
We got our people.
I think Todd Edison, the deputy, is an obvious choice to run. I think James Craig is. He's not going to get any traction in the U.S. Senate race. The guy wants an office. He's a guy seeking. He's like a heat missile seeking a target.
He's talking about running.
Not yet. He's running for Senate. He's running for U.S. Senate right now. He's not going to win.
Well, you know what?
He's gonna.
You say he won an office
office to get elected.
Remember how you used to go to Farmer Jack, and you had a security there. They wanted a job with Farmer Jack so bad they start bagging groceries, even though they work for the security firm. That's James Craig. He put a uniform on him and just sit him at the DMC. They need security and shit.
Well, here's Neil Truckman is saying 10 Republican senators had a chance to end Donald Trump had they voted to impeach him. Had that happened, we wouldn't be talking about him today. And
we have Ron DeSantis, and he's more dangerous than Donald Trump.
But I want to say something real quick about that Adolph is referring to a column. Adolph was talking about this weaponization. This person who's defending the FBI. This person was ahead of the Ann Arbor office, and I've known him a long time. And he is really a decent, level-headed person. He was a Republican, and now he's like so disenchanted. But he's not a flaming liberal or anything like
People
that.
they got
he's a very
red
decent-
files. They got
he's a
files.
very honest-
They had files on babies. J. Edgar Hoover was
he was dangerous, Jay.
dangerous, and man, he was crazy.
Right.
If you go on YouTube and you listen to conversations between J. Edgar Hoover and Nixon, they're so both referential. They defer to each other because they're both scared of each other. But I think Nixon was more scared of Hoover.
And everybody's
So
scared of
you
Hoover.
talk about the mayoral race. that's
Before we
coming.
go, let's get down that road. Let's take another break.
All right.
Thanks, Charles, for letting me use your gardening supplies. I'll make sure I put it back in the garage. Man, tending to that lawn is a lot of work.
Tell you the truth, Jim, I'm more concerned about keeping this house.
What's going on?
Well, Sarah lost her job 2 months ago, right?
Yeah.
Since we lost that income, the bills have been piling up, and we're so far behind. I don't want to lose the house because of back taxes. I don't know what to do.
I understand. The same thing happened to my sister and her husband when he lost his job. Do you know that the Wayne County Treasurer has plans and programs to help people stay in their homes?
No, I didn't. Tell me about it.
Yeah, go to www.treasurer.waynecounty.com to see if you qualify.
What's that again?
www.treasurer.waynecounty.com.
Got it.
His
Yeah.
floor. He
Absolutely.
said, well,
Itself offers a lot. You just got to be willing to do it. People don't know what you need unless you open your mouth and say, I need help. What inspired me to get my GED was, it was always a goal of mine. But what made it possible for me to get it was the city of Detroit. They gave you everything you needed to succeed. Just pick up the phone because you already got it in your hand. Get on the website. Detroit for life.
Oh, welcome back to Detroit in Black and White. Allan, Lengel, Vanessa Moss, and Jim Nardone. Hey, lively discussion, end of the year. We got, there's a lot of things that are going to be happening in January, the elections, Joe Biden. He might find a fountain of youth somewhere. These protests, college presidents under fire, etc. Man, what do it is?
You know what though? Let me say this. When we start something, I like to finish it. We started the conversation about the upcoming mayoral race.
You can always jump in it. Go ahead.
No. He had finished. He said one name or two names, and then he jumped on something else. So I need you to
finish who else?
Right.
I think
So
I think the lieutenant governor.
He's not running.
He wouldn't run for mayor.
No,
he should
He
run
wants
for
to
governor.
He is going to run for governor.
Forgot.
But
Friend of the show.
Mary Sheffield, she's running.
She said she running.
She's running. Who else?
Friend of the
Forrest
show.
Sheffield,
Todd Madison, a friend of the show.
Coleman Young,
Coleman
second.
Junior, I don't know, man.
Somebody else that we talked about.
Because if he runs and wins, he already got a in-house deputy mayor.
There's going to be so many people on that ballot.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, I think it's
Nothing wrong
awesome.
with it.
It's going to be a lot of
You
people.
know, nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
You know, and Duggan's running for governor.
I think we need a police chief or a police executive, and a friend of the show is maybe Todd Madison.
Oh, Todd, you know what? Todd is in a great position. Served 20 years as a cop.
Right.
He understands the government, but you know what? It's just hard for people to vote for cops.
There's a possible candidate.
Adolph
Mongo.
And he was not chief. I'm sorry, he was not chief. He was a police executive.
He ran for mayor if in the dreams of all dreams. He will fire everybody. He will curse everybody out. He will make national news for his mouth.
It would be like the end of time. Belial would fall off the map and roll over and sink. Is that what was it going
But
to
any sane person do not want to run for office. And that,
Oh, I'm glad you said that.
but you know what? You know how we talk to folks and say, "Why don't you run for something?"
Yeah.
Smart people
Yeah,
don't
I
want to
do
run.
know. Yeah,
Don't want to.
Yeah, I do know.
But sometimes you have to go and find that special person.
Oh, so you sitting up there talking out of both sides of your mouth.
When you
sir.
think politics is good.
So you said if I'm not saying I am, but he's talking to me. If I was to run for office, I have to be an insane person. People who run for office have to be insane. I'm not insane.
So who did they get when Hitler was trying to take over the world? They found an insane guy named Winston Churchill. Who he was just as bad as Hitler. His
Why do
policy,
you say that?
because he had a policy, they killed hundreds of thousands of Indians. He withheld food from them. You know what? Everybody's not perfect, even the heroes. Julius Caesar
Henry Ford.
killed 1 million people. Killed 1 million people. You know, he tried to wipe out the people in Gaul. You know, so these folks do what they do
here in our community. I mean, the Fords have done great things in this community, including the health system and foundations. But the original Henry Ford was a friend of Hitler. He was a friend of Hitler. He had an anti-Semitic. He had the book, The International Jew, which I guess was a compilation of stories.
Listen? Another Detroit.
You know what? I finally did. The first time in my life, growing up, a lot of Jews didn't buy the Ford because of Henry Ford. And then in 2015, there was a Jewish CEO.
Oh, so that's why you said,
Well, I said, all right.
What about your
I got a Jewish CEO.
What about your other Detroiter, Charles Lindbergh, who loved the Nazis,
right?
And yet he's an American hero, and
there's a lot. Look, Henry Ford. People got mad when Bill McGraw, the former co-editor of Deadline Detroit, wrote. He was the editor of the Dearborn magazine, which was run by the city, and he did a huge piece on Henry Ford's anti-Semitism. They killed the story. They fired him. We ran it in Deadline Detroit. The New York Times wrote about it. And Henry, because people were in the Ford family, I heard like some of the Ford members were really upset about the article. But the truth is, he was a hater, man.
You got Orbit Hubbard sitting up there, and streets named after him, and he was the biggest bigot in the world.
Right.
So what we gonna take Woodward off the name of the street?
But let you tell it. Sometimes it depends on what day it is, because you one of those people who's like, yeah, take all those statues down. Yeah, take.
I'm for the statues to go. They got to go.
Did you ever fly to John Wayne's airport?
Got to know.
What about the name of the street?
Take them off.
Kobo, change Kobo.
Take them off.
Oh, he was all for changing Kobo.
Yeah, or Cass. Take them off. Take them off.
What you gonna name the streets? Mongo, Moss, Nardone, and Lengel? What the hell? Really?
You know what's so funny? At the Washington,
this would be
National,
Mongo. Okay, Mongo Avenue. Come on now.
National Airport in D.C. The Republicans were saying it was called Washington National Airport, and they said we need to name it after a president. And so they named it Reagan, and they're like, you idiots. Washington was our president.
Right.
They were like, we need a president.
You can't erase history. So you could put a new name.
But we don't need to have a statue up there, though.
It doesn't matter. Half of these statues we walk around, I don't know who these people are. It could care less.
I do.
But you know what? You're relevant yourself.
I do. I do know what they are. But anyway, let's move on.
I think we missed one
What?
story.
What?
I think the Middle East. I mean, it's on fire, and I think
you were gonna bring it up earlier.
And I think that fire is metastasizing all around the world. But a bigger story there beyond that is that fascism around the world. We have fascist leaders that are, the World War II came as a result of fascism bubbling over in all these countries, and if we don't tamp it down. I consider Trump a fascist. I consider Netanyahu a fascist.
Let me ask you
I
this: when you
consider the
say tamp it down,
extremism. Hamas is extremist group. Netanyahu is an extremist. Trump is an extremist. If all these extremists come together, it's like it's dangerous chemistry. In the
Well,
world.
let me ask you this, but when you say tap it down, what do you mean by tapping it down? Because when you say tap it down, it means just smolder it,
Well,
and not really do
removing
anything,
it.
and then it comes removing it. How do you remove?
Through hopefully elections or revolutions or whatever
But
it
you
takes.
still have the voice.
What about the kingdoms over there in the Middle East? Are they different than
Nope.
fascism?
No, they worse. They worse.
How you know? You don't live over there. What happened to you when you were out of the country?
When I went to Morocco
Let's talk about that.
and
Let's talk about
Casablanca,
it. Right.
first I was looking for Humphrey Bogart. Couldn't find it. But anyway, to get in a cab, you can't, a man and a woman can't sit in the back of a cab or whatever. It's
Well,
a
tell us
liberal.
what
It's a
happened.
liberal.
Tell us what happened.
Got a cab. Well, we got a car
You and your
service.
wife. You and your wife.
It's like I found out Uber owns the majority of it, and the Saudi Arabian company owns the other part called Kareem. I thought it was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. But anyway, guy come, and they did have seatbelts because the regular cabs don't use seatbelts over there. That was something different. But anyway, we got in a me and the wife got in the car, in the back. Guy looked, said, He said, no, that's against the law. I said, against the law? He said, yeah. And morally, too, you get. I had to sit next to him, So every time we took a car, I tried to get in the back. They look at you, get back in the front. I said, well, Jody, you ride by yourself.
So yeah, and that was the whole time you.
Yeah.
Were there no exceptions?
Yeah, but there's always exceptions because some people want the money and they don't care. Morocco is pretty liberal.
Okay.
Morocco is a secular, it's a Muslim
They got a
nation,
king.
but
They
it's
got
secular.
a king. You should see they have one of great looking Catholic churches, a synagogue. They play up on all this, and then they got the great mosque. I mean, women go here, men go here.
Yeah.
They got all kind of stuff going, and then they start playing all that. I thought I was gonna see El Cid coming. It was gonna be the battle cry. But I'm gonna tell you, they don't play around. A lot of security, because they on high alert all the time.
That region of the world,
And then you see the have and the have-nots. People that got a ton of money. I mean, got money all over the place. And then you see the people in the marketplace. Oh, Medina. Oh man, they selling. They don't beg. They just sell.
Yeah.
You got the little kids with the flowers and the tissue and all that. They selling. They follow you, want to hug you, do all that because they trying to get a couple coins.
Yeah, it was the same way
And
when
did
I
you
went
help
to.
them out?
Yeah.
When I went to Egypt right before COVID, same thing. You have the haves and the have-not. I didn't see anything in the middle at all.
And a dinner, and you can go to a restaurant and what a dinner costs here might be $100 and something.
Right.
You paying $40,
right.
$50. The cab fares $2, $3. Cost of living, and then you see it. Then you see a big American presence there because they got a American school they recruiting, and you go by they got a massive malls, and then for a Muslim country they push Christmas more than what they push Christmas over here.
Is that for tourism or just for?
You see the little kids there. They love Santa Claus. Santa Claus weighed about 140 pounds walking around.
Could you live there?
Could I live there? I can stay there for a couple of months. No, I don't want to live there. It's left in Portugal, another nice place. You see all the grandkids came home in Portugal. All the grandkids, right? from the African countries that they colonized.
Right.
They all there now. In Portugal, very diverse country. People don't want American money in Portugal. They don't want it in Morocco. I was like,
What's the currency in Portugal? What's the currency called?
oh, it's the euro.
Oh, it's
a euro.
So earlier you talked about
There's
Winston.
mad money in Morocco. MAD something. Yeah.
Earlier you were talking about Winston Churchill.
Yeah.
And we had the opportunity to go to the war rooms
Right.
in London. We went to London last year. Let's talk about that. What did you think about the war room? It was, I thought it was amazing. It was just
Where they directed the when they was bombing London. And I say with Winston Churchill, when they got Winston Churchill, he was the kind of guy that just as nutty as Hitler, who had to deal with him. And then when the war was over, people they like, bye.
right.
Thanks for your service.
Thanks for your crazy.
Right.
You don't need your
Thanks for
crazy
your
anymore.
service.
But those war rooms, it was so interesting. I mean, it was wow. That's all I can say, because you can read about things in a book, but to actually go into those different rooms, it was something. It was something else.
Yeah, anyway, let's take our last break and we'll be back and wrap it up.
Detroit itself offers a lot. You just got to be willing to do it. People don't know what you need unless you open your mouth and say, I need help. What inspired me to get my GED was, it was always a goal of mine. But what made it possible for me to get it was the city of Detroit. They gave you everything you needed to succeed. Just pick up the phone, because you already got it in your hand. Get on the website. Detroit for life.
Okay, we're back. But we was there in London with the International Association of Political Consultants.
Right.
And that was interesting. At the time I went to a conference in Iceland, and Hillary Clinton people were there. You talk about politics, and they talking about poor Hillary got robbed. I'm like, hey, wait a minute. Hillary didn't think she needed a campaign. So, you go to these places and it's fascinating because you hear people say some of the craziest shit.
Yeah, and how they view the United States is very interesting in that conference. It was something else, but even how we viewed the world when we met the guy from Africa who was supposed to come on the show, give me contact.
I did.
Oh,
He
he did.
never called back.
Oh, wow.
But it's like I met a guy, he was from the Congo, Republic of the Congo, and we got to talking. They passed a law when he left the country, to move to France, that say if you out the country for longer than 2 years, you ineligible to run for president. So he called me and he was like, how do you think I can get back in power? I'm like, I looked him up. I said, you need an army. You don't need a consultant. You need a damn army.
I got a question. I have an interesting story in this. When I was at the Washington Post, I did a story about there was a Denny's opening on the other side of the river. It was the first sit-down family restaurant.
Denny's?
At Denny's. It was the first, but it was a nice, the woodwork in there was really nice and stuff.
Nice.
So
Denny's?
yes. No, it was.
Oh my God.
So I went there on a Sunday with a photographer. It was a church crowd there, and everyone was all decked out in their church, in the beautiful hats.
So let me ask you this. Let me ask you. You said church crowd, black?
Yes.
Okay, because you said they were all decked out.
They had great.
Well, here's the point. So I was jumping from table to table interviewing people. So at one table,
interviewing them for what?
Just say, what do you think about the Denny's? Here.
It's Denny's.
No, you don't get it. In on that part of town, there were no nice restaurants. There were no restaurants to sit down at.
Nice?
Well, I'm telling you, it was the nicest Denny's I've ever seen.
So you eat at Denny's?
Well,
oh my God!
I've been at Denny's in many years.
Finish your story.
For the Davy Jones
He
special.
went to, you know where he went.
I don't go to the Cracker Barrel.
Well, he interviewed the black church folks who decided to go to the nice Denny's after church. Go ahead.
All right. So
He went to Sambo. He went to Sambo.
I'll show you the story. It was actually a great story, but I slipped into a table where there was a bishop from the church there with a woman. I don't know if it was his wife or whoever. And I said, "What do you think about this?" And he said, "It's great that we have finally a nice place on this side of town to go after church." I'm telling you, it was the nicest thing that I've ever seen. So, anyways, I said, he goes, "It's only too bad it's not black owned." And I said, "Oh, yes, it is," because I had interviewed the owner. And I said, "Oh, yes, it is." And he goes, "No, it's not." I said, "Yeah." I said, "The owner's from Nigeria." And he said, "He's not black."
Right.
And I was puzzled. And I went back to the newsroom and talked to some black reporter. I said, "What's up with that? You know, people want to be called African American and all that stuff, and yet they're like saying no, they're not."
That's like me saying. That's like me saying you white. And you like, "No, I'm not. I'm Jewish."
Yeah.
It's similar.
Okay.
So yeah, when he said no, it's not black owned, he meant African Americans, black person owning that restaurant there.
But why would you want to be called African American if you don't want to be associated? You don't say no, they're not. You know, we're not both black, and yet you want to be called African American.
Listen, the same reason.
Nigerians would not call themselves African American. They make sure that they just distinguish. That's right. They will distinguish themselves. As a matter of fact, some of them are offended if you say you call them an African American. Okay. So.
And do you prefer the term African American?
I prefer black. I'm like the lady in Imitation of Life. You know, black. White. But anyway, I prefer to be called black, but the application say African American, fine.
But
and it depends on what day it is.
Shame on the Washington Post.
And no plugging for Denny's.
Shame on the Washington Post, because Denny's is the worst of the worst. It's like when I was.
It was mentioned in the story of the racial issues that were happening, but it happened to be a Nigerian who opened up in a neighborhood that needed a family restaurant.
So they got a Cracker Barrel, they got a Denny's, and they got Sambo's all in one place.
But I'm saying,
remember Sambo's?
Yeah. But the irony of the story was part of the irony of the story is that here a company that's had all this racial issues where they tried to
Court time is getting Rams on
service.
Rams
on. No.
Really?
Oh, okay. I'm like, oh no, not Rams horn, but
is it still here?
It is.
Is Arthur Treacher still here?
This one
is
Arthur
Treacher.
I think I've seen one.
Is Arthur Treacher still here?
There's a Rams horn, and that's.
Yeah, there's a
Is it any good?
I haven't been here years, but I think that the story was that was somehow tied into close a nose jar, whatever.
Okay. I knew that's what you were saying.
Yeah, I was looking for a good word to say. Being an Italian.
Being the mob. Do you call yourself Italian American?
No.
Okay.
What do you call yourself?
Just an American.
Okay. Yeah. It's like when we used to have a woman in our neighborhood growing up, so penny candy, Sister Grant. Sister Grant was very dark skinned. She used to tell people, "I'm not black. I'm from Jamaica." So I go ask my grandfather. I said, "Sister Grant said she's not black. What is she?" I don't want to. I can't say what he said. So, but that's how people look at themselves.
Right.
Some people when I was in Morocco, cab driver said he was. "You from here?" He said, "I'm from the Sahara." He said, "Me, you, we the same." That's what he said. I was like, "When did I hear that before?" I was in Hong Kong, and a guy begging for money came up to me and said, "Soul brother, we the same." I said, "This when Vietnam, they used to go there for R&R in Hong Kong." But anyway, he was using that soul brother. Soul brother, we the same.
When I took cabs in DC, I talked to the African cab drivers who said they did not get along with the black people, Americans in DC, and vice versa.
That's why I'm glad Uber came.
The black Americans in DC would say the the Africans are snobs. They're, and so there wasn't a much cohesiveness there.
Well, anyway,
Yeah.
time has come to say goodbye.
It's only 10:55.
Yeah, but we're gonna do the final thought.
Okay.
Okay, because y'all get long-winded, Allan and Jim.
You
and
done told us about how you done travel all the way around
You
the world.
wanna
Wait
ask
a
that
minute.
question?
He told us about how he done travel here, there, and everywhere.
I'm going
and
to Antarctica now.
that's it. So is that the next conference?
Yeah, they're gonna
Oh,
get all you
is it?
political
Okay,
people
enough
there.
about you. Let's
They're gonna put all the political people there, leave y'all stranded.
I'll start.
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk about
But
you.
let's final thoughts. This is the last show of the year, and thank you, Bob, for letting us be here at an exchange. We've had a great year.
Corner of Michigan and Trumbull, the old Tiger Stadium
Go ahead.
corner.
Two real quick. This is not a reflection of the people of the FBI or any other. Thank you to the police officers, the federal agents that are the only people, in my opinion, sometimes that stand between this country's and anarchy. All right. In this country, it's the police. And they do a great job every day. So thank you to the police. And secondly, a friend of the show, Mary Gay, Dan Yogo, who showed us that she may not be in the legislature anymore, but she's able to get some things done.
Yeah.
Got the redistricting.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you know what? My question is, even with which is great, a great win. But now we need for people to participate because we have people who don't vote, especially here in the city of Detroit. We have very low voter turnout. So I hope that this really does make a difference. I hope it's not for nothing. Because they really fought hard and they prevailed. But let's see what happens.
And one of the big issues that's facing Detroit in 2024, reparations. It's going to be a hot mess because
What is that going to look like? What is reparations?
you know what it's going to look like. You know what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
Gary
Nothing.
Targo, the Illages, and all them going to
Nothing.
get all the shit. That's what
Nothing.
it's going to
It's
look
gonna
like.
look like nothing.
Allan, your final thought.
My final thoughts. I want to thank everyone for watching it this year. We're always working to improve. I know some people have talked about the audio here. We're working on improving it, but it's been great hanging out with you guys every Saturday morning.
And thank
Even
all
though
our
not
guests.
that it's been easy always to get up early on Saturday morning, but
That's
it's been
because you
great.
hang.
And-
That's because you hang out all night.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
you
yeah.
done got old, man.
But Teresa and Jim Nardone, who have helped us out every week, thanks so much. And I'm excited. I have very tempered expectations tonight for the Lions game against Dallas, but what the hell, the Lions
God,
are
I
in the
hate the
playoffs.
You said that last week. Remember?
I hate
Every week I got tempered expectations, but it's great. It's a lot of fun.
I hate
It's
the
fun
Lions.
watching a team that's competitive.
Go blue.
Unlike the
Go
Pistons.
blue. Go blue.
Nobody
And we
deserves
got
that hate
Detroit.
energy.
We got-
Nothing or nobody deserves that hate energy as far as I'm concerned.
And go blue.
Go blue. We got the Rose Bowl.
And yeah, I hate Alabama. It used to be Alabama.
I guess
They're
I'm
not.
the last word.
Yeah, you
Go
get the
ahead.
last
Okay,
word.
Go ahead. Finish. You hate Alabama. What else?
You're gonna be the.
No, you're not doing that. That
We
we're
want
not.
to make it a
Mongo's
No,
top
you
10.
don't.
Top 10
No, you
hates
don't.
Alabama,
No, you
Shri Thanadar.
Rashida Tlaib.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh,
You got the last word.
The queen should have the last
oh
word.
my God.
Got
He
the
made me
last
lose
word.
my train of thought. Oh, listen, we started on this journey the beginning of 2023. I think it was February 2023. And we have to admit that we have really grown. We've had some phenomenal guests on the show. We have a phenomenal team. We appreciate each and every one of you that watch us every week, that talk about the show every week. Even if you're not liking, subscribing, and share, I hear people when I'm out say that, hey, I saw the show. I like the show. Thank you for our regular viewers, D. Holly, Duela, Mr. Bay. We've had quite a few people who
Kenneth.
watch on the Kenneth. Yes, your mom. Hey, Mom. So we're looking forward to being here next week. Hopefully, we got a surprise guest. Hopefully, that guest will be here next week. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend and Happy New Year.
Okay, you got it. We got a surprise when we come back.
Okay.
And
All
Jared
right.
Goss
Happy New Year.
Lions, and Jared Goss Lions are 11 and
Happy
4.
New Year, and hold on to the rails for 2024.
Okay.
You want one. All right.
Thank you.